Awareness campaign here in Dane County next on For the Record. Thanks for joining us. I'm Neil Heinen. In many ways, we are talking about mental illness more than ever, and that's good. But much of the conversation is incomplete at best and promoting stubborn misconceptions and stigma at worst. Dane County is globally recognized and renowned for its mental health care system and resources, and there's no better example than Journey Mental Health, which is celebrating its 70th year of providing mental health services in Madison and Dane County. And I am pleased to welcome to For the Record Journey President and CEO Lynn Brady and Journey volunteer Pooja Mehta. Welcome, both of you, and thanks for doing this.
Thank you for having us.
So as we're getting set up here, one of our directors comes out and says she wants to volunteer, yes. Lynn, and yet she was not familiar with Journey.
She was not.
And that just, I mean, it feels like this has been going on for 70 years. Talk about Journey Mental Health.
It does. We recently had a forum that brought back all of the past CEOs and myself to talk about the history of Journey, and one of them said, we're better known in Denmark than we are in Dane County. And it's true. We've been here for 70 years providing services to people in this community. We saw over 12,000 people last year, and yet people don't know about us. And I think that's a function of what we do and the people that we serve. We serve a group of folks that are highly stigmatized and that for many years have been hidden away. And we deal with the topic, mental illness and substance use disorder, that people don't want to talk about.
For many years, I think there was some confusion about Journey, then Dane County Mental Health, that it was a department of the county. It is, in fact, its own independent entity. We
are a freestanding, private, not-for-profit facility, although our largest contract is with Dane County Human Services, and we've been partners with them for not all of the 70 years, but a good many of them. Yeah. And we have a great relationship and couldn't do what we do without that partnership.
You know, I don't know how to quantify this, Lynn, but over the 40 years that I've lived in Madison, the conversation around the quality of care here, about mental health care in Dane County, is, as you say, I mean, it's globally known, but it's an extraordinarily good system, right?
It's an incredible system, thanks to a lot of people who felt a passion for the kind of work we do and realized that the people we serve shouldn't be shut away in institutions, but they should be able to live in community. So they developed programs to make that happen. Community support programs that follow an assertive community treatment model, mobile outreach to people who are in a crisis, social workers collaborating with the police department, all sorts of things that put boots on the ground and in the community where people need the services.
Yeah. Pooja, we're going to talk about the awareness campaign here in a couple of minutes. Part of your role is chairing that campaign. Am I right about that as a volunteer?
Yes, sir.
Tell us your story and about your journey.
So I am 22, and I got diagnosed with anxiety and depression when I was 16. My story of recovery is a complicated one in that there was a whole period of my life where I subscribed to the stigmatization of mental illness and really played that role of, I'm not part of this group, I don't belong here, like I'm not a crazy person or anything like that. And it really just robbed me of the opportunity to recover from my disorders and from the opportunity to turn it into an opportunity rather than a flaw. I started talking about my disorders when I was 18 and was initially faced with a lot of stigma.
Talking to friends, family?
Yeah, there was one incident. So I relapsed for the first time when I was a freshman in college, and I was living in a dorm, and it was a lot harder to hide this part of my life when I lived with a roommate, like in a little prison cell of a room, you know? And so I just, you know, kind of leaned in, went to talk to one of my, at the time, really good friends and say, hey, like, I struggle with this and I could really use your help, you know, I'm having some trouble. And she decided that I was not fit to stay on campus. I was a danger to myself and others and really just went to administrators and was like, she needs to be removed. And so the first opportunity that I had to tell my story was in self-defense and trying to correct this image that had been created of me and convince administrators, the deans, like the people who really called the shots on my future of academia, that I deserve to stay on this campus. And these are some of the most educated people I've ever met. And that was their perception of who I, someone with a mental illness, was. So how can I expect anything more from a layperson, like someone who just hears about mental illness in the media, or someone who just interacts with mental illness in movies and things like that? And just through repeated experiences of that, where people would hear that I have mental illnesses and automatically decide that I was some sort of outcast, some sort of monster, I realized that a lot of the stigma that I was facing was just due to ignorance about what people with mental illnesses look like, how we live, who we are, and like just the fact that we are first and foremost people. Like the with mental illnesses part shouldn't be the full definition. And it really just drove my passion to like show that aspect. You know, I have the privilege of having really great health care, of having the resources around me to be able to thrive in my environment and be able to take my mental illness and do things like this, advocate for the well-being of others who might not be able to do so.
You know, as you point out, there's so many entry points to this conversation nationally, globally, in our world today. Popular culture depictions being perhaps one of the most challenging. But lately, we've had every school shooting, every really act of violence seems to very quickly involve some element of mental health, whether it's actually there or not.
Yeah.
Talk about your perspectives on this.
You're actually touching a very sensitive button that we have and our colleagues have.
Let's chat.
Yes.
Yep.
You know, every time there's a school shooting, it's 24 hours or less that when you hear, we need to put money into mental health. This is about mental illness, when, quite frankly, it's not. And people with mental illnesses are not, by and large, violent any more than in the general population of people. And so to always make the assumption that this has to do with a mental illness is wrong. And it promotes that stigma and keeps people from being able to own their illness, talk about it in society. And it's one of the reasons we wanted to start the This Is My Journey campaign.
All right, I want to get your perspective on it, Pooja, but we're going to take our first break and we'll come back right after this.
For the Record, sponsored by MG&E, your community energy company.
It's time to freshen up around your yard. This year, don't struggle with bulky bags of mulch. Call JR.
JR's mulch sales, spread it around.
Thank you. Have a great day. Kelly's Market is about the people. I worked for years at other stores, and it was about the sale. But here, I work for the customers, not the numbers, and that is so much more rewarding. Whether it's a fellow employee or a regular customer, it's like family working here.
The skills you can develop in the Army National Guard can give you an edge in the high-tech job market of tomorrow. The Guard offers career training to take advantage of your interests in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. Gain practical experience with emerging technology and equipment that you can transfer to an exciting new field. Get a head start on your career while serving part-time and earning money to pay for college. Visit NationalGuard.com to learn about all of the STEM career opportunities available to you in the Army National Guard.
Throughout a day, so much is out of our control. Alarms fail. Babies fuss. Ew, what did Eddie roll in? The News 3 team uses First Alert technology to put you back in control. How to prepare.
You're going to want an umbrella in the morning.
What to wear.
Grab a jacket on your way out.
What to expect.
The belt line's a mess, so leave a few minutes early.
What's ahead.
The weekend looks fantastic.
News 3 First Alert weather and traffic will put you in control of your day. Or most of it.
Know where your next meal's coming from?
Be a News 3 Hunger Hero and give to kids and families who don't.
Watch WISC TV and News 3 June 28th, including a special phone bank from 4 to 6:30.
You'll learn about summer hunger issues and how to help Goodman Community Center meet the need with a food or financial donation.
And June 28th through 30th, drop off non-perishable food items at Goodman Community Center.
Join us and be a News 3 Hunger Hero.
Download the Channel 3000 app today.
I wish someone would have said hi.
I wish someone would have smiled. I wish someone would have listened.
I wish someone would have invited me to eat lunch. Make a difference before it's too late. Will you help?
Find out how you can make a difference at UnitedMadison.com.
Did West High Kids produce that?
Yes, they did.
And it was part of the awareness campaign. I'm with Lynn Brady, who is the president and CEO of Journey Mental Health, and volunteer Pooja Mehta, who is chairing up an awareness campaign, the Billboard campaign, the Faces campaign that we're going to talk about here. But I was talking about the news stories, Pooja, before the break, and the relationship between that and the people who, like yourself, want to talk about this honestly and openly. Give me your thoughts on what you're reading and hearing and seeing.
So my perspective on the whole thing is slightly different simply because I'm a woman of color. You see any kind of mass shooting or like school shooting or anything like that, and the narrative that the media chooses to adopt is very much related to the race of the perpetrator. Right. So if it's a black perpetrator, it's gang violence. If it's a white perpetrator, it's mental illness. And if it's a brown perpetrator, like yours truly, it is terrorism.
Yep.
So that is
a mentally ill terrorist, double whammy.
Yeah, I mean, that is definitely something that I have noticed in the narrative, that like people of color are not offered the privilege of even being able to address mental illness through the media. But if we put that to the side for a second and just talk about like the labeling of mental illness as the cause for mass shootings and mass violence, you know, I'm fairly young. I have grown up hearing about this. This is just a part of my, you know, like in the news, oh, there's another school shooting. It's just something that I'm almost becoming sensitized to, and that's a little scary. But every single time the media, the politicians decide to label mental illness as the cause, it's a scapegoat. They want to attribute it to that, but then do something about it. If you want to call me dangerous, my 5'2" petite figure, you want to call that dangerous? Fine, I'm dangerous. Do something about it. Give me access to health care. Give me more psychiatrists. Give me medication. Give me therapy. Give me the resources I need to be so I am not dangerous. You want to say it's not a gun problem? Fine, it's not a gun problem. But if it's a problem with mental illness, then you need to respect those people, and you need to give them the access to health care that they need so that they no longer do things like this. Yep. You know, if you're going to call it a problem, don't just put the blame on us. Do something about it.
Now, Lynn, you say that this community is ready to have a serious conversation about mental illness, and that Journey should lead that conversation.
I don't know if the community is ready, but Journey's going to begin leading that conversation. Okay. The community certainly needs to get ready, and the community needs to have this conversation. Mental illness impacts industry. It impacts homelessness. It impacts our social services. It impacts our schools. It's an expensive issue, and it can be dealt with if it's properly funded and if the resources are available, if people have insurance, if there's access.
As you say, though, we do see a lot of stories about money being spent on this issue, or allegedly being spent. I mean, that we are going to do this, we're going to do that. It's in the headlines. The impression is that there is attention and resources being given towards this.
There are resources being given towards it, but there are not adequate resources being given towards it. In Wisconsin, for example, and in my organization, most of the billing that we do is to Medicaid. Medicaid reimburses us at a rate that's right around 50% of the cost of providing services. Where are we supposed to get that other 50%? So we take a loss every time we see somebody that has Medicaid. So a lot of my time is spent doing things like advocating for increases in those rates, advocating for increases in funding that comes to us through other venues, applying for federal grants so that we can get money in to cover the cost of the innovative kinds of things that we're trying to do at Journey, like putting a primary care clinic in our behavioral health facility, so that people who have a mental illness and don't go to their primary care doctors have a place to come to get their blood pressure checked, to monitor their diabetes, to do the kinds of things they need to do to take care of their physical health as well as their mental health.
Yeah. Pooja, it makes sense to me to have faces connected to this issue, to this story, and we're going to see faces in Madison and Dane County here, but it also strikes me as requiring a certain courage to do that.
Yep.
Talk about the decision by these people to put their faces on this.
So I can't speak for anyone on there except for myself. Right. The only thing I can say is they're incredibly brave, and we are so thankful that they chose to participate in this.
And diverse. I mean, the careers, the experiences, the lives of these people.
So the decision, or kind of the insistence that I had to put faces on the campaign, mental illness as a point of advocacy has gone through kind of a couple of iterations. It started off with like people just talking about that mental illness exists and it's a problem. And now we're kind of in the phase where mental illness is a problem that affects a lot of Americans, but it's still in this nebulous kind of like intangible cloud of people who who should be addressed when talking about this issue. And I truly believe that you can't care about an issue unless you are able to personally relate to it. 1 in 4 Americans has a diagnosable mental illness. Statistically speaking, every single person in Dane County, in America, in the world, knows someone who is dealing with a mental illness of some sort. The gap comes whether or not they know that fact, you know? And if we can put faces to this campaign, if we can put names to the campaign, if we can personalize the issue, it is very much an issue that everyone should care about. And so my hope with putting faces as a campaign is not that, oh, I care about mental illness. It's I care about Anne, I care about Ron, I care about Pooja, I care about Peter, I care about these individual people who are affected by all of the injustices that affect people with mental illnesses.
I want to continue that conversation. I want to talk about the continuum of care when we come back, talking about Journey Mental Health right after this.
Join Fearing's Audio Video Security and Big Brothers and Big Sisters at the Parks and Trails Unite Festival June 2nd at Lake Farm Park and McDaniel Park and the awesome new bridge in between. Brought to you by Fearing's Audio Video Security, Dane County Parks, and United Madison.
If your credit card debt is out of control, if you're in over your head in monthly payments, there's a secret the credit card companies don't want you to know. If you have more than $5,000 in credit card debt, you have the right to let us settle that debt for a fraction of what you owe. That's bad news for the credit card companies, but it's great news for you. We're Credit Associates, and we're offering you free information on how to virtually eliminate your credit card debt with a monthly payment you can afford. To see how much you could save, call now. 1-800-908-0532. Don't declare bankruptcy. Don't consolidate. Give us 10 minutes and we could save you thousands. After all, we depend on your success and offer a guarantee so there's no risk. Credit Associates. Live better, debt-free. Find out how easy it is by calling now. For the secret the credit card companies don't want you to know, call Credit Associates now and see how much money you could save for free. Call 1-800-908-0532.
Isn't it about time you got the best sleep of your life? Then come discover the power of Tempur-Pedic sleep at Denver Mattress. With Tempur-Pedic's pressure-relieving comfort, you'll fall asleep faster, stay asleep longer, and wake up feeling refreshed. And right now, get a gift card for up to $300, along with our 365-night better sleep guarantee and free delivery. Get the best sleep of your life today at Denver Mattress, your Tempur-Pedic elite retailer.
Everyone needs a mentor. At Big Brothers Big Sisters, they have 300 kids waiting for a mentor. Please help now through bbbsmadison.org.
Brought to you by Fearing's Audio Video Security and United Madison.
I'm back with Lynn Brady, the president and CEO of Journey Mental Health, and Pooja Mehta, who is a volunteer with Journey Mental Health and is chairing the public awareness campaign on This Is My Journey, billboards that you will see throughout Dane County with people with mental illnesses who talk about themselves through their images, through showing up on these billboards, and certainly, you know, one of the hoped for outcomes here would be people feeling more comfortable reaching out, asking for the kind of help that you were talking about, Pooja, and that Journey actually has a really broad array of services available.
Yes, we do. We have services that touch people in just about every part of our community. We have intensive case management services that are out throughout the community around town. We have clinic-based services. We have services in the schools. We have social workers who are embedded with the Madison Police Department and go out with them when it's necessary and when they're needed. We collaborate with other agencies that provide services in town to provide case management to people. We do all of the OWI assessments for Dane County and follow those safe driving plans for people who are referred to treatment after they've been arrested. We manage mental health court issues when people are involved with the courts and have a mental illness and need alternative treatment programs. We provide those, and we have programs that are culturally specific, a particular program for African American people, Clinica Latina that works with our Spanish-speaking folks, and Kajia House, a program for Hmong folks. We have a clubhouse model in Yahara House that helps put people back to work. So the continuum is broad, and it coordinates and collaborates with the justice system, with the schools, with the human service system, with the police, with the sheriff, with the local hospitals. We have a 24-hour crisis unit that people can call at any time and get help with their crisis.
This would all suggest to me that we do indeed know much more about mental health now.
We know an awful lot about mental health. We know a lot about it. What we want to do is start sharing that with the community. What I like to tell people is that Journey is a specialty clinic. We see people that have a severe mental illness that need a lot of help. And you know, there are things you can do today. There are exercises you can do where you can come and we can put you in one of those virtual things and you can see what it's like to hear voices talking to you, like many people with mental illness do. We have medications now that can treat people that have severe depressions. We're part of a zero suicide campaign in Dane County. Wisconsin has a really high suicide rate, and we're working really hard to bring that rate down, and we've been successful in doing that in Dane County. And we partner with Unity Point Health and other organizations in order to make that happen. So Journey is everywhere because there are people with mental illness everywhere.
Pooja, your experience would contradict this, but is there any indication that young people in particular are better able to talk about mental health now? No, it's a challenge.
It is a challenge, yes. There are definitely venues where it is becoming more acceptable to talk about it. I personally have seen this especially on college campuses, in younger, late teens, early 20s. There are definitely venues where people are becoming more accepting of the fact, and it is becoming more of, there are more resources in place to talk about it and, more importantly, do something about it. But again, it all comes down to education. Fear is sprung by ignorance, and ignorance is simply from a lack of education. If you're not in a place where people know about the realities of mental illnesses, know what resources are available to them, know what it is like and how you can help someone with a mental illness, you're probably not in a great place to be able to come out and say, hi, surprise, I have a mental illness. You know, like, all that's going to do is ostracize you, and there's really nothing that you're going to be able to do to remedy that fact. And that's why programs like Journeys are so important. Going into middle schools, going into high schools, going into colleges, having these collaborative programs with different organizations, different demographics, different age groups to be able to say, like, this is a safe place. This is where people can come to learn about what the reality of mental illness is. This is where people with mental illnesses can come to understand that, like, no, your life is not going to be fundamentally changed. No, your life is not over. You're still able to achieve the things that you want to do. You're still able to be the person who you really are. You might need to go to the doctor every once in a while. You might need to take some medication, and we have the resources in place to help you do that.
I don't know if we would have had a Pooja 70 years ago.
I don't know. I was just telling her this morning, a part of what thrills me about Pooja's courage in going on a billboard and being so vocal and being on the show today is that she works. She actually has a day job. This is her volunteer job. Right. Her day job. She works in a large organization with a lot of young people. So she is, by virtue of what she's doing now, getting the word out there. These young people in her own organization are seeing this and saying, hey.
And even 4 years ago, like having a Pooja 70 years ago, 4 years ago when I started speaking out about my mental illness, I was the only one that I knew of.
I want to thank you both very much for coming on. It was a really good conversation.
Thank you for having us.
We're going to come back and wrap up For the Record right after this.
Join National Guardian Life and Operation Fresh Start at the Parks and Trails Unite Festival June 2nd at Lake Farm Park and McDaniel Park and the awesome new bridge in between. Brought to you by National Guardian Life, Dane County Parks, and United Madison.
It's the season for storms and possibly downed power lines. And while it may look harmless, a fallen line could be live and dangerous. Stay away from lines on the ground and areas covered with storm debris where fallen lines could be hidden. Always assume that a downed line and the objects around it are energized. Don't touch them. And most importantly, if you encounter a downed power line, call MG&E right away. Stay safe. Stay away from downed lines.
Congratulations to Kathy Ellis, a top-notch teacher at St. William Catholic School in Janesville, who's retiring after 32 years.
The years have just flown by. There's always something new. It never gets boring. It never gets tedious. Just being with the kids, and I think it's what keeps you forever young.
If you know a teacher who deserves to be recognized as a top-notch teacher, send us a letter, an email, or nominate a teacher at channel3000.com.
Sponsored by Lazy Boy Furniture Galleries and by Concordia University.
It's impressive all-wheel drive plus MPG, the new 2018 Subaru Impreza from Don Miller. Get up to 37 EPA highway miles per gallon. Your new Impreza, the 2.0i premium model JLD11, has all-wheel drive, power equipment, Bluetooth, and much more. Lease it from only $189 a month plus tax or own it from $21,565. Don Miller Subaru, west on Odana or the brand new expanded East Side store. Complete sales and service on High Crossing Boulevard, Madison.
At National Guardian Life, we believe that every youth deserves the chance to thrive, which is why we support Operation Fresh Start. They help Madison area youth attain a high school diploma and workforce training.
Please donate to OperationFreshStart.org.
My thanks to Lynn Brady and Pooja Mehta, and to you for joining us. We'll see you next week on For the Record.